What's up, guys? I thought I was in vibe for some Travis Scott, but I guess I was not. So fuck that song for now. How we doing today? Hope you all had a good day of trading. Definitely was an aggressive one, to say the least. Can you guys give me a quick confirmation? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Awesome. I'll take that thumbs up. Hello, hello. All right, so from a daily perspective, there's no better way to say this than I was wrong. I thought we were going to keep going up. We definitely didn't. There were a lot of signs that we were not going to go up, so we'll go about it and how to adjust your bias after seeing, well, for myself, that's only trading New York, adjusting my bias after seeing what happened overnight. So during Asia, during London, so that once we go into New York, I am ready. We also had 9:45 and 10 a.m. news. Now 10 a.m. news was home sales, which is now an orange folder on Forex Factory, but for me that is still a high impact news. Now I know that might be confusing for some of you, and that's why I'm very excited that I'm going to be bringing the economic calendar to the Rice Statistics app slowly but surely. But this weekend we have the economic news that is the whole analysis is getting released this weekend. So definitely a lot of cool stuff coming on that end. But to get back on track with how could I react to such a huge candle, right? How could I react to this and adjust my bias in relation? Well, it's all about power of three for me. News on Rice stats would be super cool. Yes, sir. They are coming. But as I was saying, right, all about power of three. And if I bring something here, this little orange box, which is just how I like to color consolidation, I see that price gravitated around the daily open. I can frame that as accumulation. And then we started by expanding higher. This is what I call manipulation. How is it confirmed? Well, it is confirmed through SMT. And just by looking on a 15-minute chart here, it is very easy to see that NASDAQ went higher, probably going on some higher time frame charts. You have a swing point there as well, but you have SMT on a 15-minute chart. You don't need more in this instance. So what does this form? And also, when does it form? 8:30, more importantly, between London and New York. This is what I call an overnight Judas swing. This creates a London framework, right? Our target, statistically speaking, and basically this is a 70% win rate. When this framework is here, we will reach this. I believe it was 73% of the time. I'd have to open the app to actually see the exact percentage, but all time we are looking at a very high above 70% percentage. So this was a clear objective. After seeing this Judas swing higher, framing based on the daily power of three, you see that we opened here, went to form a high, and afterwards you would anticipate an expansion lower. High probability of this being low of day since we have SMT formed at this level. Very simple framework in this case. Basically, as soon as I open my chart, which I always do at 9:15, I could definitely tell that I was not going to get any long opportunities unless they were retracement. Now, of course, I'm still going to refer to the same levels that I previously had because this fair value gap is how I'm going to frame trades. So first of all, the draw was lower to this fair value gap. Where to? Well, we previously went to 0.5 and respected it. So now this is my new target. The liquidity at this level clearly is an objective. As we dive lower, this is all low resistance. Now, after diving below this, we can see that we close below, and you could frame some continuations lower. I would have anticipated a way deeper retracement than this, and we'll look at it. But personally, my personal results for the day were 3 break-even trades. So definitely not you could consider a good trading day for myself. I did not wait until the 10 a.m. news, right? That is a high impact news event, because for me at 9:45, we had enough of a Judas swing. How many long, how many shorts? I took 2 shorts and I tried 1 long. So I'll show you very quickly and you'll see it. And I should not have gotten stopped out on some of those. There was some some manual errors, I guess is the best way of putting it. But some personal mistakes on my end that led to those trades being break evens. I was very aggressive today. I was Mad is not the word. I was irritated that I didn't get a setup on my perfect move, which we'll look at in a second. But due to that, I just started chasing. That is the truth. I had some good results for my mental state today. So not the best of days for me, but you know what? This is one for the books, right? You journal and you go on to the next one. So we'll look at it in this case. I also did miss the only profitable trade. We'll talk about everything. But as I said, for me, 945 was our first high impact news event. We had a Judah swing higher. So did I require more from price? No. I was ready to go from this point on. So for me, seeing this Judah swing, I was like, okay, well, now let's go lower. Let's form a breaker block. Okay, well, let's form the breaker block where? We don't have a range. So this is where, first off, I opened my lower time frame charts. Okay, so that's basically what led to me making mistakes. We'll look about it. And there was no SMT at this specific high, so at the time of the news, which could confirm this. But we had previous SMT on our 15-minute, and we also had SMT near the open. Yes, it is that swing. I wasn't sure, but yes, we had it right here on that swing point. So we had recent SMT that I could fall upon. So even though this would not form an A plus framework, it would form an A framework. And as we talked about quite at length yesterday, this is more than enough for me to consider taking a trade. As I said, here, there was no range. For a bearish breaker, I need a swing high to a swing low. I don't have a swing high to a swing low. Even if I move over to ES, I have swing lows to swing highs, but using this swing high doesn't work to the swing low. It is here. Basically, it was all framed around lower time frame movement. That is the truth. So in this case, I personally went down to the 30-second, and I'm going to show you guys in a second here. And we had a very beautiful breaker block. Now, it seems that recently I spend more and more time showing you guys lower time frame charts. And it's true, right? And why does that happen? Because I don't have many setups in conditions where we are consolidating or diving down super aggressively. And I don't want to say randomly because that's not the word for it, but just aggressively, right? So in this case, for me, I like to go down to the lower time frame charts so that I make sure that I don't miss a move. As you guys can see from the results of my day, is it good to do that? Not necessarily. There's a lot more variance. My win rate is much smaller, and it does mean a lot of break-evens. But when I get a win, it covers the losses and more. So it's still worth it to do so. And I just wanted to frame that I only do so when I have days like these that either leave without me and I'm trying to get a scalp, and I either end the day on a small loss or small win. Today just ended up being break even after break even. But with this breaker block, right? So this range, as always, I'll frame it with the standard deviation so that it's a little easier to see. We can see a very beautiful fair value gap that gives you an entry. And now you might ask, why wouldn't you not have entered higher? Because that is the first breaker block to form, right? Once again, here, there's no swing high to swing low where the high got mitigated. The only range we have is here, and the high remained open. If I have it a little, those might be equal, but remained equal is unmitigated. Now in this case, you would have had very well, it would have been very easy. I'm having trouble with my words here. Would have been very easy to find your entry, which is right here. 3PD array stop loss rule gives you a very, very nice stop right here at this high, just 3 clear fair value gaps. And now to my first objective, where could that be? Well, first of all, I'm not going to take profit before 2R, right? This is something, well, 1.7R. This is something we've talked quite a bit. For myself, there was no real objective, and let's go back to the 15-minute chart here, right? There was no real objective before this. I always tell you guys how when I see low resistance swings, I'm expecting us to go all the way through that. So for me, as soon as we take out this low, if we expand past it, which is at the point of my entry, we'll go back to it. In this case, this is London low. Everything else here is low resistance. I anticipate that we will run all the way through. So I didn't have a target before reaching that midpoint of that fair value gap right here, which allowed for approximately here approximately 3R. Now, in this case, of course, I would have looked to take profit perhaps 25 to 30% of my position once we reach near that 2R mark to just be safe. Why? Because it's Friday and I want to end the week on a good note. But in this case, I didn't, right? And I didn't reach all the way down here because I got broken even. So this is a successful trade once again in the 30-second chart, right? So looking at it, sorry guys, let me just mute my phone here so you guys can have my full attention. Looking at this on the 1 minute chart, there is no entry. So first of all, that's already a little less on the pessimistic side that I always say, but I personally was looking at the 30-second chart. I did want to showcase it, but as soon as we broke this low once again, because when we break this and we don't close through it, it doesn't give me any insight. But as soon as we close through a swing low here, this is the specific one I had in mind, but even if you use the next one right here, we didn't close through it right away, but then we closed through it later. For me, that's just a sign after this high resistance that I want to go break even. Why? Because price is not moving right away to my target, and I want to take part in low resistance move, and straight to the point moves is the easiest way to put it. And today that led me to getting broken even before making money. So this sucks, but it's part of the game, right? I mismanaged a trade. It was already a quite aggressive trade, and aggressive is the nice word to put it. It was already quite a trade that was on the verge, right? Because I always tell you guys, it's okay to have one thing wrong. It's not okay to have two. Well, in this case, I was in the 30-second chart, which is a lower time frame entry. So that's one thing that makes it less good. And then it consolidated. So at this point in time, technically it was the good thing to do to place my stop break even, getting broken even there. But of course, always being results oriented and seeing the result, of course, I'm going to associate that to a bad decision. But to be honest, it was just not a fun day, mentally speaking, right? But that was my first trade for the day. It was a setup. If you're trading the Rise model, you're going to wait for breakers to form, right? And even looking after that 10 a.m. news, which is we had 10 a.m. news. Let me actually remove this box, 10 a.m. right here. This 10 a.m. news just consolidated. So you would have no reason to go long or short at this point in time. And then you formed, where was it? I remembered we formed SMT. Was it earlier? No, it was later probably. This is SMT. I was probably still on the 30-second chart. I just remember from this morning. Yeah, so we probably have some lower time frame SMT here specifically. But looking at it on a 1 minute chart, there definitely isn't anything interesting in this case. Rice model seems to require some deep stop losses. Well, that's the 3PD array stop loss rule. It's fun, and it simplifies it to have a mechanical rule for your stop losses. And truth is, more often than not, which means above 60%, I'm a data guy. When I say more often, and the majority of the time I do mean 60%, it is going to be the best stop loss available. And when you want to enter off of breakers, you have to give price, time, and room to do what it has to do. The inversion kind of validates the manipulation, so it makes it very efficient. That is true. Trading an inversion fair value gap can be very efficient, but then how do you choose the manipulation? The reason why trading the Rise model is so easy, at least for me, is because I always need a breaker block. And not every move will form a breaker block, but every good move will. So I know that by just trading breaker blocks, brain dead, which means purely mechanically, breaker block is a pattern, let me trade that, I can be profitable. So why would I want to bring a complicated aspect? And of course, once you build more experience, perhaps you want to. I built more experience and I don't want to. I am comfortable with how easy and straightforward this is. And that's how it is for me. But it also leads to days like today, where I could clearly understand what's going on, but I had no good way to trade it. And let's be honest, even if you were trading inversions here, I see one possible opportunity to trade an inversion here. And this is something we were going to talk about in a second, but not something that, basically something that I'm not mad to miss in general. right? In this case, you didn't form a breaker block before retracing into the fair value gap here, inversion fair value gap here. So you would have had no entry if you waited for the breaker block until here. So waiting for the breaker block to form, and let me just draw it out so it's easier for you guys to see. Waiting for the breaker block to form just gives you an additional confirmation. And does that mean that, for example, if I entered on the inversion fair value gap right here, so I would have entered here, and your stop would be at the most recent swing high, right? I'm just referring to a point. And let's just say I target, once again, same target as the other one. Okay, that's a great entry. I have a 34-point stop loss. And I have 3.6 R. If I enter here and I use the 3 PD array stop loss rule, I'm going to have fair value gap, order block. So I'm going to have almost exactly the same size stop loss, and I'm going to have smaller return. So pretty much what I'm saying here is, if you want more money, trading basically inversion fair value gaps, or it's basically all the same model. People say takes out liquidity. If it inverts it, you take it, right? You need SMT, blah, blah, blah. You need to be within a specific time, whatever, right? We're not comparing models here, but if we were, this will give you better returns on your winning trades, but you will be less consistent. And that's just the truth of it, all right? People can tell me whatever the fuck they want. I have the data behind it. So if you're, for example, if you're more consistent with inversion fair value gaps rather than unicorns, that's not because they're better. It's because your specific rules to looking for a trade and your understanding of it grants you that it's better for you to do that. Because the data, mechanically speaking, once again, right, if I was to add some specific rules to it, there's no comparison. I'm not going to say one's better than the other because I'm trying to stay impartial here, but one gives you more confirmation, and when it forms, your move is already confirmed. But yes, it does mean you will have lower returns. I personally have made the decision that lower returns for higher consistency is worth it. That's just my personal opinion. Now, this trade I did not take. What I did take after getting stopped out here is try to take the long off of this. Because honestly, looking back at it, there's no reason. No reason. I'd like to tell you guys I was off today, but to be honest, I just need to reflect on this and figure out why the hell did I do it. But as soon as the breaker entered, I placed my trade here and I closed it manually. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? So this wasn't really a break even, but this was, I believe I took pretty much 0.2 R loss. For me, that's, I call that all break even, but pretty much that was a loss. And I could tell you what I want, right? But was there a breaker block? Yes. Was there a fair value gap? So truth is, that's a better loss than most. But as I said, it was a mistake. I never should have been looking for longs here. Basically, I framed that the news open, went lower, then went back higher. But as soon as I saw this inducement without SMT, so this move lower with SMT is fine. I can frame longs. But this move lower without SMT just formed relative equal lows. So I never should have went long in this area. So this was just a bad trade by me, pretty much. But you guys were asking about me personally today, and that was it. So I took one short, got broken even, went long, closed it instantly because I was chasing, and I saw that the trade was bad. And then I didn't take this short, and I longed here and got stopped at break even, which we'll look at in a second. The inversion kind of validates the manipulation, so it makes it very efficient. There was higher time frame bullish SMT. How do you know when one asset is playing catch up or it's an actual price failure? So basically, by higher time frame, I hope you mean daily. But on the daily, there was none, I believe. Yeah, there was none yet. So, okay. On a move lower or during any sort of move, actually, you're going to form SMT. But then you have to decide between two things. Okay, well, here. Is this SMT when it breaks it or when it forms a swing high? For me to look at SMT, I need it to be an important point in structure. And to make that mechanical, I've made that a swing high. So for me, this is only SMT as soon as we expand below this candle. Because I know that if we expand below this candle and this candle closes, then this is a swing high, this is SMT. So I need a swing point to be formed. So if you say higher time frame SMT, and you're looking at 1 hour or 4 hour daily, for me, higher time frame is daily, sometimes 4 hour. Well, I need to wait for that 4 hour candle to close and the next one. So when you say right now, for example, there was bullish SMT, okay. If I'm looking at it specifically, I would look at key levels, right? In this case, we expanded below London low, so I don't care what SMT comes, because for me, it's temporary, right? So it's going to be order flow that are going to form retracements. But my target is my target down there. That is my draw. So price is going there. Any bullish SMT on the way there is just an opportunity to form a retracement, and any bearish SMT on the way there should be respected. That's how I interact with it. And more specifically, when there's SMT on both sides of the range, that is where I frame consolidation. In this case, you would not have had this issue at all, right? I'm not seeing, oh, well, actually, perhaps. This is what you meant. That basically we took out current low of day on ES while we had on NASDAQ. And let me actually go to the correct spot. And no, exactly. Okay, it would not have been an issue until here. So basically, right after your entry, you went for it. So what is the correct way to react to this? Right, basically a minute or 2 minutes after your entry, you went right for it. Yeah, ES was taking out shit 15-minute way faster. Yeah, definitely. ES was weaker in this case, or just more in deeper discount than NASDAQ was. But what do you do? How do you react? Well, that's not a reason for me to close my trade. If I'm going to start framing longs at this level, then yes, I'll close my trade, of course. But in this case, well, basically it comes back right to your question. How do I decide if, well, NASDAQ just has to catch up to ES, or if this is a reversal, a setup, if it gives me a setup? So basically, if I'm already looking for reversals at this level, which in this case today I was not, right? Or should not have been, pretty much, as we'll look into. But this fair value gap was not our lowest objective. This was a temporary objective, but we were expecting a trending day lower, just from the power of 3, pretty much. So if you're anticipating reversals at this point, then if the SMT forms, I'm going to wait until a bullish breaker block in this case, because that's what I need for a setup to form. And see, in this case, a bullish breaker block, sorry, was formed here. So nonetheless, I would have had the opportunity to reach it. It's not about noticing right away that on this 1 minute candle, okay, ES did that. Okay, well, ES did that. How can I react to it? Mitigate risk. Go break even if you're scared. For me, I don't need to wait, pretty much, because I know that if it reverses, so if the intent of taking that out is reversing and NASDAQ is not going to catch up to it, it's going to form a bullish setup. So until that appears, there is nothing going through my mind about closing this trade because of SMT. I don't even look at it most of the time, to be honest. But if we form a breaker block, or I see a breaker block forming, of course I had a lot of time here, then I would have looked on ES. Personally, today, I was not in this trade, and I should have been. Very beautiful trade, in my opinion, and we always love when there's minimal drawdown. Even though it stopped in the middle of it, you would have had a very nice 2.85 reward, pretty much risk reward. And in this case, we could discuss about a partial, but truth is, this is my one and final objective. So I'm taking out 80% is what I always do pretty much at these levels. But if, for example, I had 3 contracts, I would have taken them all. If I had 4 contracts, I would have taken out 3, left 1 as a runner with break even. And as you guys see, clearly would have benefited me to leave a runner on here. Does that make sense for us, what I explained with the SMT? It really depends on the situation, right? Because I'm never going to look at that live, pretty much. Awesome. Afterwards, after this, pretty much, as I told you guys, I did frame reversals to the upside and I got broken even. I'll show you guys the setup. And truth is, for me to have a trade, I need to have a breaker block. I just showed you guys this breaker block right here, right? This breaker range. There was also just a tiny bit more recent one that formed before this one. Perhaps some of you guys might have also been looking at this, which is a swing high, a swing low to a swing high, which means that this is a breaker block as well. There were a lot there, right? For this one, you could have entered right here. That's what I personally did, right? I saw this breaker block. I have a mechanical approach to price. Then we traded right back here. Now, this is a weird one because this one didn't close above the inverse fair value gap. And we had a volume imbalance at this point. But then on the next one, we opened above, which is pretty a candle body above. And then basically on the next open of the candle, we opened high. So we went right into it. I personally entered somewhere in this candle. I marketed it. No, that's not the word for it. I marketed inside of this candle and my stop loss was all the way down here. Was this a good trade? Well, I was framing retracements to the 10 a.m. open. Is this the best trade? No. At this point, I wasn't on tilt. That's not the right way to put it, but I was confused. That's the best way to put it. So I missed out on my good idea where I was right. And then I was like, okay, well, convincing myself that it could reverse from this and we could see a retracement. And truth is, that is a framework that I trade multiple days a week, right? Trading retracements after an objective is met. And the fact that it didn't work today shouldn't be a reason for me to consider this a bad trade necessarily. But I saw that I had quite a questionable entry as we reacted very aggressively out of this breaker block. And to not have a repeat of my loss from the morning right here, I just decided to go break even as soon as we expanded past it. And we took out all of those highs right here without closing through them. So I got stopped out right here. Pretty much I managed it very aggressively. Once again, it was Friday, right? I don't want to go into the weekend down 2K on all of my accounts. So I just decided, let's call it a day. At this point, I've already made mistakes for the day. So let's just call it a day. So this is one of the, basically, I don't think, I'm trying to think recently of the big days. And no, actually I missed one quite recently. But usually when we have big trending days, no matter the direction, I tend to be able to basically make a lot of money on them and catch a big part of the move. But recently I have not. So this is another instance where I missed some moves. Today was my fault. I should have been short here and should have been holding the rest of the day, even though the first part was pretty rough. And it would have been an easy day, let's be honest. I took that one too, got lucky and got out, broke even. Yeah, me too. Break even right here. So definitely not the best of days for me. I'm glad I just didn't finish in a loss because with all the mistakes, I exaggerate. I like to be hard on myself. But now having an audience and of course an audience of you guys, right? It's just I want to be compassionate. Because for myself, you know, I see some friends in here and they know that I would just call myself a bitch and do 50 back tests, do 100 back tests, go work because that's what I deserved because I made a tiny mistake. And that's how I treat myself. That's how I've gotten myself to this level. But the truth is, I had made tiny mistakes today. I'm still going to punish myself like I killed someone, right? To the maximum extent because I think that's a good thing to do. But I did make some mistakes today. If that makes any sense to you guys, right? It just goes to my personal philosophy with these things. And are we going to talk about some PM opportunities once we open the PM session and we're already 450 handles lower? No. Already reached 4 standard deviations of your first setup? No. At that point, it was gone. It was too late. Do you guys have any questions, right? If you guys want to talk about some specific price legs, perhaps, maybe you guys took different trades on that end. As I said, for me, the trade I really wanted to be able to take, for me, it would have been like probably somewhere around here. I have one loss. Then I catch this move. This should have been my day. But instead, I had one break even, one small loss, which led me to lose out on this one because I was unsure about myself. I was like, okay, well, I already took 2 trades for the day. This is my last bullet. And then I missed out on it, then took that one, just decided, fuck it, let's get out of here. It's not going well today. And I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm guessing it went well for you guys, perhaps. Well, usually when we have 8 people on a Friday, it means it went pretty well. Because when it goes bad, last time we had 20 people. So I don't know if it's the lack of me being active recently or something else, but definitely something to say here. I'm seeing you type, Perez, so I'm going to give you a second to answer that. But if not, you guys know it, right? On Fridays, we just chill in here, right? A lot of people are going to enjoy themselves, as I wish I would go do tonight, but it's not happening. Didn't deserve it today. Having a psychology like this is oftentimes lonely. It is oftentimes hard, but nothing will build you better. My philosophy is that as long as you aren't blowing money, you are learning every day. It's all good. 100%. That's a good philosophy to have. The only valuable trade I saw today was the M15 SIBI. And for those that don't know, SIBI, sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, bearish fair value gap, that the 1050 to 1110 macro drew up into. So yeah, that little pull up right here. So we had a 15-minute gap right here. You could have taken a continuation. You had a unicorn entry. You had probably an inversion fair value gap somewhere here too, right here. But once again, well, I mean, could you justify this? Yes. But for me, I'm never looking for trades past 1130. And this being right at 1130 stresses me out. But if you would have taken this trade, yes. Well, actually, let's look at the 3PD array stop loss rule. Inverse fair value gap, fair value gap, fair value gap. Wow, that one would have hurt. That one would have hurt. But you would have barely gotten stopped out, it seems like, on SMT. Yeah. Right here. So you would have gotten stopped out. It made SMT right after. You would have had a re-entry opportunity on an inversion fair value gap right here. Basically, pain, right? You had a re-entry opportunity right here that would have went back to your break even to other times before going to your objective. Pretty much, it was a high resistance day if you started trading here, right? You had to trade near the open. If you shorted very early on a lower time frame chart, you would have been comfortable unless you went break even aggressively, but definitely a lot there. February is almost over. Yes. I mean, I love February. It's my birthday month. There's a lot of snow, a lot of skiing. Yeah, I love winter. But truth is that for the markets, February is shit. I guess I'm happy I was born there. So it means that every year I can enjoy my birthday and go a little overboard and not be too scared to miss out on some big opportunities in the markets. I'm going to ask once again if you guys have any final questions. If not, we're going to call it a night. Pretty tired, got a lot of work to do. But as always, I'm glad for you guys being here. Always a pleasure, guys. Always a pleasure. As I said, you guys got a little early sneak peek, but economic news ranges analysis is coming to Rice Statistics. So I'm going to be checking up and requiring a lot of feedback from you guys because this is a big one and I hope you guys will enjoy it. You guys have a great night. Enjoy your weekend, right? Take some time off as always, and we'll see each other back on Sunday for our weekly outlook. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy.